expatriates operating without the ID cards, they can shut that project down.
We have the petroleum industry bill pending before the National Assembly. My question is, how will its passage improve the involvement of Nigerians in the oil and gas industry?
Well, there's direct and indirect consequences of passing the petroleum bill. The impacts will be very, very great. For now, we have investments flowing into the oil and gas industry, into Nigeria, just because of the Nigerian Content Act. Because the Nigerian Content Act has made it very clear to everybody, both operators, service providers, investors, right? They know what the rules are about the game. There are rules about ownership of equipment, there are rules about participation of Nigerians, there are rules about what tonnage of steel that must be done in fabrication, man hours of engineering that will have to be done in Nigeria. Those requirements represent opportunities for investors. So that is driving investments into the service area. On the E&P area, the big investments are poised to flow in, but for many investors, they're still looking for what the PIB would say about some of those major issues that they're always looking out for. And that is why we are, as the government is looking toward the National Assembly to continue their process so that we can get the passage of the bill. When the bill is passed, it will be very clear. People who are really interested in doing business in Nigeria will know where to focus on, and they will be in a position to push the investments. Today we have a GINA awarded. We are doing the tender for Bonga Southwest. Ajip is also pursuing a deep water development project in the 245. And there are so many other projects that are on the drawing board. But with the PIB, it will become very, very clear to the international investing community that Nigeria is indeed the destination of choice. And when you look at the power sector today, the power sector is almost reliant on gas. The power sector that we're trying to build in Nigeria is the gas to power based sector, and all that is linked to the PIB, the availability of gas and the investments that must be made to create these resources are all related to the PIB. So the PIB is really very important for us.
Okay, let me take you back to the Nigerian content. Now, we have local service companies who are still complaining about access to funding, and yet we know that your board has launched the Nigerian Content Fund. So how much exactly do you have in this fund, and are you having problem with putting together the funds?
The Nigerian Content Development Fund is a fund created by the Act, and it's 1% of every contract awarded in the upstream sector of the oil and gas industry. And 4 years ago, that fund was zero. Okay. You had to structure it because the law actually just created the fund. And we had to take time to model a fund that will be easily accessible, transparent, and the deployment of the fund will be based on competition and need. And we have achieved all those four issues. We are now in a position where Nigerian service companies are able to get money from their banks with guarantees given by the fund. That is the model. So a lot of companies are now approaching their banks and getting loans with the underpinning of the fund. That's the guarantee side of the fund. The other part of the fund, which is 30%, is for direct intervention. That's what we use for training Nigerians, for stimulating investment in infrastructure, for running capacity building programs, that are actually needed to support local capacity in the industry.
In essence, you're telling me that there is no issue with accessing funds by locals?
No. The access is open. What is happening is that, like everything new, people are yet to be fully aware of everything they need to do. And the consultant that is working on the fund managers are moving to all the banks and educating the banks first and foremost on how the fund is being administered. And we now have participating banks that are being selected on the basis of how much they are doing for Nigerian service companies. So that is driving competition.
We'll go on a short break now, and when we return, we'll tell you more about Nigerian content in the oil and gas sector.
I'm sure what you saw in terms of investments are products of projects that were initiated in the past, projects that are ongoing, and projects that have commenced. For instance, the Gina project started last year, and that has given birth to quite a number of in-country capacity work in Nigeria. The PIB is supposed to even add more value to it and to bring a more sustainable fiscal regime that will guarantee investments. You can see too that we started with players that were predominantly from the West. Today we have expanded to all over the world. We have players from the Far East and so on in our activities. So investments will continue to grow, and the PIB is expected to give birth to a more sustainable and a more permanent fiscal regime that can be predictable, that investors can look at and factor into their business model before they come in to invest. We still believe that Nigeria is the place to invest.
You're welcome back to Dateline Abuja. I still have here with me the Executive Secretary of the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board, Engineer Ernest Mwapa. You're welcome back to the program.
Thank you, Amalogo.
There's this impression that the board is unwilling to deal decisively with the falters of Nigerian content, especially the big operators and service companies. What would you say is responsible for this impression?
The Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board is both a development agency, and a monitoring agency, as the name entails. So people are used to having regulators wielding sticks all over the place. Now, this exercise we've done for 4 years is a constructive exercise. It's something that we have taken time under the provisions of the Act to build a collaborative environment, because the first thing you have to do in implementation is to create executive capacity. The capacity we had in the industry, the local capacity we had in Nigeria was so low that not much